The Heroes and the Hidden, by Kitty Quat on AO3. Episode 15. Let's see how fast you can run. They had missed everything. Izuku stood in front of Naomasa, his fingers clenched tightly into his shirt, as he stared at the paramedics rushing out of the hall with a body and watching the blood pool on the floor. His gaze so unfocused, his eyes slowly scanning the scene. Shinsou sat against the wall, staring at Naomasa with wide eyes. Toga was gone. The details of the case were still coming out, but from the emergency phone call and whispering from students, Toga had attacked a classmate with a pair of scissors, slicing open his chest, then bit into him and drank his blood. Naomasa hadn't thought to check what exactly the child's quirk entailed, and he regretted it now. He had just seen the girl yesterday. She was energetic, sure, but she seemed sane and caring towards Izuku and Shinsou. But the allegations that she randomly attacked a student and sliced him open in front of Izuku and Shinsou seemed irrational. It seemed wrong. "Are you the principal?" he asked an older, balding man who stood to the side whispering with the teacher. He straightened up quickly, bowing slightly. "I am, Detective. I can't thank you enough for coming." The principal looks back at the blood pool and the two children who stood staring at it. "We need to get that psycho off the streets before she hurts anyone else." Naomasa clears his throat, directing his attention back to him. "I need the camera security from this hall from the past 2 hours. The principal flushed before shaking his head. "I'm so sorry, but the cameras in this hall is broken. There isn't any footage from the past day." He wiped his hands on his pants, shifting his weight. "We were meant to get it fixed after school today." "False." Naomasa sighs, running his hands through his hair. "Why are Izuku and Shinsou still here?" he asked, gesturing to the kids, who were now standing shoulder to shoulder, pinkies wrapped together. The principal looks confused at the names, before seeing the boys. "Their guardians have yet to arrive." He clears his throat, lowering his voice slightly. "If you ask me, you should take those children to the station. They're villains just like their friend was." "True." Naomasa straightens his back, glaring down at the man. How dare he speak this way about the children he is meant to protect? "I did not ask you." He responded with a slight growl in his voice. "Give me access to all the cameras on campus and get out of my sight." The principal phrases, before nodding slowly, racing away with the teachers he spoke to before. He sighs, running his hands through his hair and dragging it down his face. He walks around the puddle of blood, slowly approaching the children. The hallway is empty now, save for a few of his officers taking pictures of the scene. He guides the children into a nearby classroom, sitting them down. They move slowly, not arguing or pushing against Naomasa's hand. He can see Shinsou's tightened, and Izuku respond in return. For a child so traumatized, he latched onto Toga and Shinsou so fast it was almost concerning in of itself. But they were happy, and that's what matters now. He can stress about the rest later. "So kids," he starts, pulling up the teacher's chair to them. "You want to talk about what happened now or later?" Shinsou shook his head slowly, staring at Izuku for a response. Signing something. He needed to get some lessons from Kayama, or her friend, one of these days. "Nothing happened, Detective," he murmurs, grabbing Shinsou's full hand. Shinsou shivers slightly, but doesn't refuse it. "Detective." Izuku hadn't called him that ever. "False." Something was wrong in this school. "Okay." Naomasa says carefully, nodding his head. "Do you know where the Hondas are?" He changes the subject, hoping to ease the children. Shinsou responds this time. She points to herself and Izuku before mimicking her hands, walking. Easy enough to understand. "Still, they should have picked you up after this." Naomasa pushes slightly, hoping for more information on their whereabouts. Shinsou shakes her head. Okay. I'll take you both back to the station with me, and I'll tell them where you are, okay? Izuku nods slowly this time, followed by Shinsou. Okay. They'll solve this. He'll find out what happened and find Toga before she gets hurt on the streets. Mitoshi follows Izuku into the station, frowning as she notices all the police watching them. She pushes closer to Izuku, protecting him. Got another stray Tsukauchi? A woman calls from a desk, making the detective sigh. Just get me some blankets and drink for the kids, okay? He responds, the woman laughing. He pushes open a door, stepping out of the way, so they can pass him. Izuku drags Mitoshi to a couch, plopping onto it, like it was the coziest couch ever. It wasn't. It was hard and not soft, and the letter was cold, even through her uniform. But she let Izuku have it. He was still gripping his hand tightly, which sent shivers down Mitoshi's spine every time their hands adjusted. The detective sat in the matching armchair, running a hand through his hair again. He should get a haircut. It was around Mitoshi's lengths, which meant it had been a bit. He could at least tie it back. Someone knocked on the door, and it slowly opened, showing the woman who had made fun of the detective earlier. Really, kid? She asked Izuku, who nodded before 2 blankets hit him in the face. He blinked in confusion as the blankets fell from his face. It would have made Toga laugh. The woman set hot cocoa on the side of the table before shutting the door behind her. Okay, kid, the detective said, grabbing a blanket and draping it over himself. What do you want to talk about? Mitoshi frowned. Izuku's hands tightened as his as he opened his mouth to speak. Mitoshi tapped on the hand, making him pause and look at Mitoshi. Careful, she signed. Danger. Izuku shook his head before turning back to the detective. It was my fault, Izuku says, letting go of Mitoshi's hand to wring at his shirt instead. Mitoshi started to sign, but her hands were pushed down by Izuku, who simply shook his head again. She was trying to protect me. Kid, Naomasa cuts him off. I'll let you talk, but there is no blaming yourself. If Toga was protecting you, then it wasn't your fault. Izuku shakes his head, but continues talking, ignoring what Naomasa just told him. One of the boys was saying how much he regretted looking like me when Toga snapped. She had somehow gotten some scissors and said that she would help him with that issue, before stabbing him again and again. He shakes his head again as he speaks. Blood activates her quirk. That's all I know. Shinsou knows more. He looks over to Shinsou, who seems frozen in place. Shinsou, Naomasa says quietly, getting her attention. I know you want to protect your friend, but I need to know what I'm working with. He puts his elbow on his knees, leaning forward. Her quirk is registered in the database, but it would help if I heard it from someone close to her. Shinsou nodded before adjusting her mask, looking at Izuku. Paper or ASL? Izuku whispers. Shinsou holds up 1. Izuku nods, opening his bag. Hold on. Naomasa starts moving from a notebook he keeps on his desk. He stops as he sees a flower crushed into Izuku's bag. Not just 1, at least 5 spider lilies sit in the space between his books. As he pulled out his notebook, handing it to Shinsou, he runs his hands along the flowers before zipping the bag up, handing Shinsou a pin as well. Izuku. Naomasa starts, wanting to inquire about the flowers. The kid looks up at him innocently, as his hands return to wringing the bottom of his shirt. Shinsou shakes her head at Naomasa, holding a finger to her lips. He flops down into the armchair, agreeing for now. The kid had flowers of death in his school backpack, and he wasn't supposed to ask about them. Shinsou gasped, making Naomasa jump. The kid was usually so quiet, it was strange. Izuku looked over, equally confused. Shinsou held up the notebook, signing something quickly. Hero Notebook 10 was scrawled across the front. Yeah, it's fine. Izuku claimed, looking down again. Just right at the end. Shinsou nodded, opening the back of the book with great care. The pages and book were water damaged and looked scorched in places. It was a wonder it didn't fall apart in Shinsou's hands. Shinsou got to writing carefully, and the other two sat and waited patiently. Naomasa drank his coffee, but the kids hadn't even touched their hot cocoa. I don't know the technical name of her quirk, but she called it blood transfusion. She told me about it a year into living together, and about it being the reason why she was in the system. Her quirk relies on her consumption of others' blood. It allows her to transform into a person for some time. She has always been told not to drink blood, but she always wanted it. So one day, when she saw an injured bird lying on the floor, she bit it and drank its blood. Her family were so grossed out by it that they sent her to the Hondas. She is usually able to ignore the urge to drink someone's blood, but she can be very prickly, especially if she sees someone's blood. Izuku nods at that, rubbing his arm slowly. Why hasn't this happened at the house, though? Naomasa questions. She's been there for a few years now. She would have seen blood. Hitoshi shakes her head, writing in the notebook again. She has gotten into a blood frenzy. When she first came to the house, one of the older kids had a nosebleed. She had jumped on him and tried to bite him when she was pulled off and dragged to her room. I wasn't there, but she says that that's the reason why she was banned from being downstairs. Naomasa nods slowly, watching Izuku's fist tighten. Shinsou sighs something, 2 fingers to her thumb. No. Naomasa rubs at his neck, wanting to scream. The kid needed a quirk counselor, not bans placed on her. Just because a quirk can be considered dangerous doesn't mean anything, and the kids were clearly keeping something from him. Is there anything else that I need to know before searching for her? He asked, watching Izuku's face contort. No. Izuku says slowly. False. Damn. This is gonna be harder than Naomasa thought. The kids were definitely keeping something from him, and he needed to figure it out. Hitoshi laid Izuku down on the couch, rubbing his hands gently. She can initiate touch with no issue, but someone touching her feels so wrong. Why can't she just be normal? She messes with Izuku's notebook in the other hand, gently flickering through the pages. The Honda still had yet to show up, and it was bordering on an hour. The detective glanced over his computer at her, and she freezes. Izuku had said that his quirk was a lie detector, but he wasn't sure how it worked exactly. So Shinsou, how are you holding up? The detective asked, leaning back in his desk chair. Hitoshi gave a small thumbs up, before turning her gaze away. She can't let the detective move them. She can't let Izuku get hurt like Toga. Part of her hoped that Toga wasn't found. She picked up Izuku's notebook in an attempt to get the attention off of her. Letting go of Izuku's hand, she slowly flipped through the first pages, mindful of the warping of the pages. Present mic. Hero analysis 1. Quirk. Voice. Abilities. Allows its user to apply to project their voice, much like that of a megaphone. Can be used to calm a large group of non-combated down into an emergency. Scream can render offenders disoriented and lack the ability to communicate properly. Scream can push small debris by using sound waves. Strengths. Present Mic is able to dodge defendants with relative ease. Present Mic is very sociable, making him a good hero for teams. Present Mic is an optimistic, often able to see the better side of things. He acts more on instinct, often stubborn in battles. Personal weaknesses. Due to his stubborn nature, he continues to fight even if he cannot win. This causes damage and non-compatible casualties that could have been avoided. His scream is so loud that the eardrums of the surrounding individuals, both offenders and non-combats, have been blown. Present Mic is deaf, often relying on a hearing aid as well as implanted communicator in situations. His quirk is unable to travel underground. He is headstrong, often not thinking before acting, causing damage. Though he is social, he has a hard time allowing others to work, fearing their deaths. See personal history. Weak points. vocal cord/throat to allow the quirk issue. Hitting the implicated communicator could cause shocks to disoriented. Vocal cords are often protected by support items that have rendered useless when struck in power box located to the right. Hair offers a grabbing point for offenders. Sliding across his mouth will make it difficult to produce sounds. Slicing tongue will make it hard to speak. Personal history. Present Mike. Non-combat name. Hizashi Yamada. Born in Tokyo, Japan. Parents are Akio Yamada and Hikaru Yamada. Akio Yamada, Quirk, lung flood, allows its user to hold an extended amount of air in the lung. Hikaru Yamada, Quirk, water manipulation, allows its user to manipulate a small pool of water in proximity. Graduated from Bling Elementary and Middle School, attended UA High School, through the entrance exam. Scored moderately on the written portion, and a general 80%. Passed the physical in the first place, as his quirk was useful in the fight. Graduated before creating his own agency and radio show. Daylight hero. Flashy. Personal relations. Shouta Aizawa, pro hero Eraserhead. Friend/partner/UA graduate. NB8, page 13 through 16. Kayami Namuri, pro hero Midnight. Friend/UA graduate. NB9, pages 01 through 06. Oboro Shirakuma. Deceased. UA student. The input continues for several pages, filling with drawings of support gear and physical build, suggestions filling up a whole place, while more personal history and relationships include a large family tree filled up another. He had an entire paragraph dedicated to his thoughts on a supposed relationship between Present Mike and Eraserhead about bonding over shared trauma. Hitoshi flips through the other heroes and names she doesn't recognize, trying to make everything out. The ink is dripping and parts of the pages are burnt, but there are other items scribbled out, such as a continued entry on All Might, which is all but gone, covered in fresh ink marks. These are really good. She hears a detective talk from behind her, making her yelp and stumble off the couch, throwing the notebook. Oh, Shinsou! He calls, trying in vain to grab her before she falls to the floor. Hitoshi breathes heavily, placing a hand over her heart as she tries to regain her thoughts. She goes to sigh, but then points to the book, and then Izuku before putting a finger to her lips. The detective understands, nodding slowly before retrieving the book and putting it neatly back on the table. He grabs a notepad from his desk, handing it over to Hitoshi, who takes it confused. How bad has the bullying been at school? He asks seriously, glancing at Izuku's backpack. I saw the flowers. How long has it been happening? Hitoshi shakes her head, looking away from the detective's scarring eyes. Shinsou, I can't help either of you if I don't know what's going on. He tried again to convince her. She puts the note back down, crossing her arms defiantly. I want to help Izuku. I promise I do. Help me help him. The detective urges. Hitoshi looks back at him, as he crouches in front of her, attempting to hand the notepad back. She considers it for a second before grabbing it from him. Okay, she whispers, looking up at him, hopeful for the first time in a while. Maybe this adult will listen. Maybe he will save them, like a hero would. My voice is in pain. My voice is in pain. And before you guys say, why are you recording if your voice is in pain? I'm recording very little, bitches. Okay? Alright? Let me do this. I feel guilty for leaving you guys every couple minutes because shit goes on. First, it was my mental health, and then more mental health, and now it's my fucking voice that's literally killing me. Literally, I had a fever, I threw up. I'm actually getting sick. I really hope that you guys cannot notice the raspiness in my voice through the video. I'm definitely, for sure, you guys could probably notice how breathy I've noticed it. So either that is something new that's happening because of the fact that my throat hurts so much, or I'm just a very breathy speaking person. I hope not. Sorry, I needed to drink water. It is still a bugsome to do this. So, thank you for watching. I hope that Naomasa now fully helps Izuku and Hitoshi, and I hope they do and actually get her the help she needs. I genuinely hope they get, the help she needs. Also, Kitty Quat has told me that chapter 17 we get Hitoshi's preferred pronouns. The he, him, thank you, because it is getting to my goddamn mind. I misgendered myself, literally, the other day while I was recording this, and like in my head I misgendered myself. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's not even just misgender, just use the wrong pronouns. I have been using the different pronouns. I have pronouns. Oh, pronouns. Okay. So, I cannot wait for chapter 16. Summary. Month time skip. Shinsou and Izuku fluff. Because if you don't, you're gonna die in the closet. Namana. The whole morning gone to waste. Okay. Interesting. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.